Today's class, the name is Patience and Wisdom. Patience and wisdom. Because without these two things, you will not get the kingdom. You must have wisdom, and that wisdom should teach you to be patient. So let's start with Sirach 1 verse 14.
The book of Ecclesiastes is Sirach chapter 1 verse 14. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with the faithful in the womb.
So to fear God is the beginning of wisdom. To fear God is the beginning of wisdom. How do you know you fear God? Why should you fear God? It's two questions in one. Daniel. How do you fear God, and why should you fear God?
Word again.
How do you fear God? How do you know you fear God, and why should you fear God?
You fear God. You fear God by keeping His commandments because you're afraid of His judgment.
Okay, you answered both. Because if you're not afraid of His judgment, He's going to put you to death. So that's why you should fear Him. And how do you know you fear Him? Is by keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments. Thank you. Read that again.
To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it was created with the faithful in the womb.
So it was created with the faithful in the womb. That means those who are born to fear God were already born to fear God. It's not something that you can teach people. I cannot make you a king. I cannot make you a leader. You just gotta be born a leader. Who can prove that by a scripture? Levi, you see you got your spiritual hands up. See both of them waving. Like Steve Urkel.
Jeremiah 1:5.
See, I know you was a prophet. Read that.
Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations.
So you see, before you were born, you were ordained to be a prophet. So no man can make you a prophet. No man can make you a leader. You're either born a leader or you're not. That's why Christ had said once, no man can come to me unless you were chosen by the Father. All right, so go to Luke 21:19.
The book of Luke chapter 21 verse 19. In your patience possess ye your soul.
In your patience possess ye your soul. If you are not patient, you're not going to get the kingdom. Because when you're not patient, guess what happened? You make rash decisions, you jump the gun on many things, and you end up looking like a fool. If you're not patient, you're going to make a wrong decision which is going to cost you the kingdom. So you have to face every situation with patience. Because the scripture said, carefully examine before you judge, right? So if you're going to carefully examine something, that means you must have patience in examining it. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Go to Romans 5.
The book of Romans 5, chapter 5, verse 3. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience.
So the tribulations that comes in your life, it comes to try your patience. Because that's a skill you must develop in order for you to inherit the kingdom. So trials and tribulations are going to come to see how patient you are in the face of those adversities. Read.
And patience experience, and experience hope.
So when you that patience is going to teach you experience, because when you go through the situation and you patiently wait and you see that Christ deliver you from that situation, then your hope is going to increase in Him, knowing that He always going to have your back. When other situation presents itself, you're going to be patient again. You're not going to fuss and fight because you trust that God is going to deliver you the same way He delivered you before. Right? Read.
And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, which is given unto us.
So that hope, once you have that hope now, you're never going to be ashamed. Because there's never a man or woman who trusted in God who was ashamed. That's what it says in Sirach, I believe, chapter chapter 2, verse 10. Look at the generation of old and see, did any ever trust in the Lord and was confounded? So if you trust in God, He's going to deliver you. But for that trust to increase, for that hope to increase, you must go through trials and tribulation, so you can understand that at the very last second, Most High is going to rescue you from the problem. Right? So that's how your hope increase, by going through trials and tribulations. Give me Psalm 119, verse 71. Psalm 119, verse 71.
The book of Psalm, chapter 119, verse 71. It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn thy statutes.
So David said, it is a good thing for me that I have been afflicted, that I may learn to keep your statutes. Because your trials and tribulation comes because there's things about you need to purge. And sometimes without the trial, you won't even know that you had that particular demon on you. So that's why your trial comes, to cleanse you of all your nonsense. So David understood that. So he said it was a good thing that I was afflicted, because through his affliction, he actually learned how to serve God a lot better. Okay? So we're going to go through some examples of patience, and where patience and wisdom was applied in the scriptures. Let's go to 1 Samuel 25. We're going to deal with Nabal and Abigail. So from verse 1, yeah.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 25 and verse 1. And Samuel died, and all the Israelites were gathered together, and lamented him, and buried him in the house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran.
Read.
And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very great. And he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail.
Hold up. Who know what the name Nabal means? Huh? Raise your hand and get the mic if you know the answer. Nabal means fool. His name literally means a fool. Okay? Read that verse again.
Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding.
A woman of what?
Good understanding.
So the husband was a fool and the woman had good understanding. Read.
And of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb.
What does churlish means? Pull it up.
The definition of churlish: rude in a mean-spirited and surely way.
So he was rude and mean-spirited. So the man was rich. So he was a rich fool. As you're going to see in the scriptures, just because you got money, that doesn't mean God is rocking with you. Because almost every pastor is rich. But we know that God ain't rocking with them. So don't let your success in your life make you feel that God is with you. So this is an example of a man who was very rich. An Israelite man, very rich, but he was a fool and he was rude in a mean-spirited way. So God was definitely not walking with that man. But God never took his money from him. Read.
Verse 4. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men. And David said unto the young men, Get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name. And thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, Peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast.
So now the king sent peace offering to Nabal. You would consider that a great honor if you were a man of understanding and wisdom, correct? So let's see how Nabal received the king's service. Read.
And now I have heard that thou hast shears. Now thy shepherds which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there out missing unto them, all the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will shew thee. Wherefore,
so the David's servant actually treated Nabal's servants and his animals very well. So he should be delighted to help the king. Read.
Wherefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thine hand unto thy servants, and to thy son David. And when David's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, Who is David? And who is the son of Jesse?
Stop for a second. Did he know who David was? Because if he didn't know, how would he say, who is the son of Jesse? He would just say, who's David? Like, who's that dude? David was, at the time, he was anointed king, right? But he wasn't yet king. He was a mighty warrior in the Israelite army. So, people make songs about David. So do you think Nabal did not know who he was? Nabal knew who he was, but he was churlish, rude and mean-spirited. He had no respect for royalty, for anybody, because he was living in his own head. He had money, he felt like he was the man. So he treated everybody the wrong way. Even a man who sent peace offering, the king to be in Israel, a powerful warrior in the Lord's army, that could chop off his head in a second, but he had no respect for that man. So, read that again.
And Nabal answered David's servants and said, Who is David? And who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? So David's young men turned their way and went again, and came and told him all those sayings.
So David got pissed. He got on his sword. It's like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna chop off this dude's head, because he don't know who I am. What was the song they sang about David? Saul killed his 1,000 and David is 10,000. So what is one fool for David to kill? Nothing. Read.
But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we conversant with them, when we were in the fields.
So the young man, Nabal's servants, admitted that David's servant treated him kindly. So when David sent peace offering to Nabal, all Nabal had to do was ask his servant, do you know this guy? Did they really treat you guys good? That's all he had to do. But he's mean-spirited, so he's not trying to, understand what's going on. He just want to show his powers. Right? Read.
They were a wall unto us both by night and day, all the while we were with them keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master, and against all his household. For he is such a son of Belial, that a man cannot speak to him.
What that latter part means. For he is such a son of Belial, that a man cannot speak to him. Go ahead, get past the mic behind, I think it's Abigail.
He has such a devil on him that he won't even acknowledge anymore.
So you cannot speak to that man. The moment you're trying to speak to him, he starts rashing, because he's mean-spirited. The devil's too strong on him. Because to talk to people, if I can't talk to you, you got the devil on you. Because if I come to you in peace, you should receive me in peace. But if you got the devil on you, nothing nobody says is going to be right in your eyes. So you're always rashing. So when you're in that level, examine yourself. Know that you got the devil on you. So that was Nabal's problem right there. Read.
Verse 18. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal.
Why she didn't tell her husband? She was a woman of understanding. As soon as she heard what Nabal did, and she knew David, she knew exactly what was going to happen to Nabal, she used wisdom to save her husband's lives. So if she had told him, he would have been dead. because he would not let her go. He would have rashed on her, sit your behind down, say whatever he want to say, and David would have come and killed him. But she was a woman of understanding. She used wisdom and didn't tell him and sent the messengers ahead of her. Read.
And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert of the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow had in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he hath requited me evil for good.
So because David is the reason why nothing was missing when they were shearing the sheep, which means cutting off all the wool. So David's like, yo, you know what? I did this in vain. Why did I even protect this guy's property? Because all the good I did to him, he trying to pay me back with evil. Read.
So and more also do God unto the enemies of David. If I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light, any that pisseth against the wall.
So what did David have determined to do?
So and more also do God unto the enemies of David. If I leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light, any that pisseth against the wall.
David was ready to kill everything he had. Even if a dog that pissed against the wall in his house, David was going to kill it. There's another scripture that talks about that. Not even the dog that pissed on Esau's wall was going to escape judgment. Read.
Verse 23. And when Abigail saw David, she hasted and lighted off the ass, and fell before David on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, Upon me, my lord, upon me let this iniquity be. And let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid. Let not, my lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my lord, whom thou didst send.
So the woman, she knew who her husband was. She knew that he was a fool. She knew that he was churlish. But when the young man came to tell her that the king was going to kill him, why did she not let him die? Because if he's churlish and he's a fool, just like his name means, that means she was going through hell. But she did not allow David to come kill him. She used wisdom and understanding because she understood that that was her Lord. You understand? So if anything was going to happen to him, the Most High would do it regardless, but she had to apply wisdom to not allow that man to be put to death. Go to Proverbs 14:1.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 1. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands.
So remember when we started, it says she had understanding. So if a woman has understanding, she's going to build her house, not do things to pluck it down. She could have literally destroyed her whole house by not doing anything. But she used wisdom and went to David to talk on behalf of Nabal. Go to 1 Peter 3, verse 1 and 3. So in this truth, as women, if we're dealing with men that are foolish, we still got to apply wisdom.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 3, verse 1. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands.
So even though the husband, Nabal, was a fool, she was still in subjection to him. Read.
That if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
So the wife's supposed to hold herself chaste and with proper conversation so that way her characteristic may win that man over. Read.
While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear.
Because they're going to realize that you're a woman of God and you fear God. You walk accordingly, so eventually that might help that man. But if the man is just straight up a fool, God will take care of that man. But you yourself, you have to display wisdom. Let's go back to 1 Samuel. Continuing verse 26.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 25, verse 26. Now therefore, my Lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hand. Now let thine enemies, and they that seek evil to my Lord, be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath brought unto my Lord, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my Lord.
Keep reading.
I pray thee, forgive the trespass against thine handmaid, for the Lord will certainly make my Lord a sure house, because my Lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee, and to seek thy soul. But the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God. And the souls of thine enemies, them shall he sling out, as out of the middle of a sling. And
So you realize all these words she's speaking, words of wisdom. Like, don't do this thing, don't kill this fool. If you have mercy on him, most likely gonna bless you. Because she understood one particular thing. We'll see that later. Read.
And it shall come to pass, when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he hath spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Israel, that this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord have avenged himself. But when the Lord shall have dealt with my Lord, then remember thine handmaid.
So she already know one thing David in his rage did not understand. Go to Proverbs 20 verse 22. That's wisdom she was speaking to David. David was ready to chop that dude off, but she spoke wisdom to appease his anger, to remind him of what the scripture was saying. Read that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 22. Say not thou, I will recompense evil, but wait on the Lord, and he shall save thee.
That's what she was teaching him. Yes, Nabal did you wrong, but you know what? Don't kill him. Let the Most High deal with him. All right? So, go to Romans 12, verse 19. Because Nabal is an Israelite, brother, but David had to have mercy on him. And he didn't understand that, but she was used to give him that understanding. Read.
The book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine.
Vengeance is who?
Vengeance is mine.
So don't be in a rush to go avenge yourself of the wrong that people do you. Let the Most High deal with that person. You continue keeping the law, because in this truth we are brothers and sisters, and people are going to do things to offend you. People are going to clandestinely go behind your back and try to backstab you, but guess what? Let the Most High deal with them. That's the wisdom that she had. Well, among many, but that's one wisdom she displayed. Go back to Samuel. We're at verse 32, 33 now. 33.
Book of 1 Samuel, chapter 25, verse 33.
Oh no, 32, sorry.
32. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. And blessed be thy advice. And blessed be thou, which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand.
See that? David was also a man of understanding. Because the scripture said, teach wisdom to a wise man, he'll love you for it. But teach wisdom to a fool, he'll hate you for it. If he was a fool, he would despise her and still go ahead and kill Nabal. Read. For in very deed, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. So even Abigail would have been put to death, because she belonged to Nabal, right? David said, if you didn't come meet me, not even the dog that pissed against the wall that would have been left of him. So she understood that his action was a death sentence for her as well. So she used wisdom to build a house. Read.
Verse 35. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person.
Great.
And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing less or more until the morning light.
Go to Ecclesiastes 6 and 4 to see something about Nabal. A death sentence is proclaimed against him, but he's at his house partying drunken. He's happy, not knowing how close from dying he came. And when his wife came home, she couldn't even tell him nothing, because he was basking in his own glory, because he felt like he was big. So he had a party befitting a king. Read.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 6, verse 4. For he cometh in with vanity.
7 and 4.
7 verse 4. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth.
So if Nabal was wise, after he said what he said to David's servant, he should have known death is coming to his door. So he would have been scared, trying to humble himself and trying to find a way to make peace with David. But he did the foolish thing and went about his business like life is great. Like it ain't nothing. That's a fool. He went and partied and drank and was drunken, so I show you what, he's not keeping the laws. Because you're not supposed to be drunk. You understand? But he was partying, so the heart of a fool is in the house of mirth. Go back to 1 Samuel.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 25, verse 37. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after that the Lord smote Nabal that he died.
So you see, David didn't kill Nabal, but God killed him, because he was too churlish. That's a man that refused to change his ways. So give me Wisdom, Solomon 1 and 12.
The book of the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 12. Seek not death in the era of your life, and pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands.
So death comes to you based on what you're putting out. That's why I said, seek not death in the errors of your life. You keep making mistakes after mistakes after mistakes, no matter how much people reprove you, you don't want to change. God is recording it. And pull it not upon you with the works of your hand. So there's certain things you keep doing, you are begging for the Most High to kill you. And that's what Nabal was doing. Read.
Verse 13. For God made not death, neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living.
Jump to 16.
Verse 16. But ungodly men with their works and words called it to them.
With their works and words. The tongue is a very little small organ, but be careful what comes out of your mouth. Because there's word you speak is a death sentence. Read that verse again.
But ungodly men.
Ungodly men, because if you're godly, there's certain works you're not going to put forth. There's certain words that's not going to come out your mouth. Because if you're godly, you have enough sense, enough wisdom to not backbiting, to not do certain evil work behind people's back. Because you do not know that you call destruction upon yourselves. There's certain way you shouldn't be talking to people. If you are godly, you would understand that. But if you're ungodly, you're going to be just like Nabal and churlish and rude with your mouth. What's the definition again? Did you erase it?
No, sir.
Pull it up. Rude in a mean-spirited and surly way. Could finish the verse?
But ungodly men with their works and words called it to them. For when they thought to have it their friend, they consumed to naught and made a covenant with it, because they are worthy to take part with it.
So there's certain action you're doing, certain word you're speaking, it makes you worthy of death. And God is taking records. But we understand, just like David got the understanding from Abigail, vengeance is of the Lord. So don't avenge yourself, but change your ways and become a lot more patient and be filled with wisdom to deal with the situation that comes in your life. That's what David made that statement. It is a good thing that I have been afflicted, because Nabal afflicted him, but he learned something from it that served him well when he got to be king over Israel. Patience and wisdom, and don't avenge yourself. Let's go to another example. We're going to deal with David and Saul. Still, we stay in 1 Samuel, but we're going to chapter 16.
Verse 1.
Yep.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 16, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Samuel, How long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons.
So God had chosen David to become king over Israel and rejected Saul, right? Jump to 11.
Verse 11. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all thy children? And he said, There remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither.
Read.
And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he.
So even though Jesse had many sons which were bigger and stronger, God said, no, I want that little one. That's the one I'm going to anoint to be king, right? So David got anointed to be king. However, he was still a boy. You read to verse 13? Read 14.
Verse 14. I didn't read 13.
Okay, keep reading.
Verse 13. Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him.
So from that day that David was anointed, the Spirit of God came upon David, and an evil spirit troubled Saul. Let's go to chapter 18, verse 5.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18, verse 5. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants.
So David eventually became one of the captain in Saul's army. But remember, the Most High already anointed him to be king. So why God didn't just kill Saul and put David up? We'll see. Read.
And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing, to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward.
So Saul hated David because why? David was doing mightier works than him. So he did not have the understanding of knowing that in an army, not everybody's going to be on the same level. Some will kill more than others when you go to war, correct? Same way in the scriptures, when you read the book of Isaiah, you think Isaiah was the only prophet at that time? No. There were many prophets, but Isaiah was that main prophet. So what if one of the lower prophets was, hated Isaiah? You think Moses will have mercy on his soul? So we got to be mindful. Don't look at your life at what others are doing, but accept your lot. Whatever the Most High chose you to do, then do that. But Saul could not accept that. The fact that David was actually mightier than him. So he hated David from that day. Read.
Verse 21. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law, and the one of the twain.
So the thing pleased Saul, but Saul is very conniving and evil. So in the eyes of his servant, they'll be like, oh, he's happy that David his daughter likes David, but his mind is already on the next level. He's already see how he's gonna use her to trick David in dying. So he was not really happy for David. Read.
But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines.
So that's a man that speaks peaceful word, but war is in his heart. So he's setting David up. It's like, you know what? I know you broke. I know you came from a poor family. I don't want no dowry. Let's give me the 100 foreskin of the Philistine. You know how hard it is to go to war, to battle, and to actually do that? But he thought to set David up, not realizing God was with David. Read.
Verse 26. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired.
So David all happy, like, oh yeah, oh shoot, man, the king likes me and everything. Wow, he's happy. But the king actually hated his guts. He just setting him up with fair words and fair speeches. That's why you don't look at a man's words, you look at his actions. His actions let you know, because if it's words, some people speak sweet words. Because the king will be like, man, you know, I love you, man. You're one of my best soldiers, you know what I'm saying? I love you. You my man's in them.
Yo, so set him up so you could go die, okay?
I love you, man. Words. Be careful with words. Read.
Verse 27. Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually.
So that's how evil Saul was. As he noticed that, hey, you know what? He knows this man, that God is working with him. So instead of cleaving on to him, he hated him even more. Say he hated him what? Continually, right? Let's go. So, jump to chapter 19, verse 1.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 19, verse 1. And Saul spake to Jonathan his son, and to all his servants, that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David, and Jonathan told David, saying, Saul my father seeketh to kill thee. Now therefore I pray thee, take heed to thyself until the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself.
So what you got to notice is, Saul gave the order to kill David. But there's always going to be somebody that's going to speak. Because the God of heaven is a righteous God. He will not let you touch his anointed. So don't worry about men. Focus on keeping those laws. Because Saul's own son came and told David, yo bro, get out of here, man. My dad's going to kill you. Right? Read.
Verse 3. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee, and what I see, that I will tell thee. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he hath not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee word very good.
So his son Jonathan had an understanding of wisdom. He's like, yo dude, Dad, come on, man. This man has not done any evil towards you. Why you want to kill him so bad? Let this thing go. But the devil was so strong on him, he could not let it go. He just hated David for no reason. Well, there was a reason, because the Spirit of the God departed from him, and the Spirit of the Lord was on David. So he hated David for that. Read.
For he did put his life in his hand, and slew the Philistine, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest it, and didst rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against...
He rejoiced at David killing the Philistines, but yet still to kill David. That's an unstable man. One day he's hot, one day he's cold. That's the son of Belial. He got the devil on him. You can't trust that man. And David understood that. Read.
Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without a cause? And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Saul sware, As the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain.
So it says, as the Lord liveth, he spoke, right? As the Lord liveth, he will not be slain. Go to Sirach 12:16.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, chapter 12, verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit.
So based on those words, that's him saying he loved David, but behind David's back, he's trying to kill him. Sweet words, but action speaks louder than words. Read.
He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood.
So he's rocking with you, drinking and chilling with you all day, every day, but really he wants your head on a platter. But in front of you is great words. He will exalt, before you, he will exalt, oh man, you're a great man, I love you, man. You're doing the work of the Lord. Oh man, you killed all them Philistines. You know what? Like I said in verse 6, as the Lord liveth, I swear to God, I ain't gonna touch you. That's to make you feel comfortable when you come back around. So you can have a great opportunity to kill you. So that's what he was doing with David, and we're going to see that later on. Keep reading on. Go back to 1 Samuel 19.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 19, verse 7. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan shewed him all those things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in times past. And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines and slew them with a great slaughter. And they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. And Saul sought to smite David even to the wall with the javelin.
Stop. Then he say, as the Lord liveth, he will not touch David. But you realize as soon as David went to war and killed mad Philistines, then you want to kill David. Jealousy. He was jealous of David, so that jealousy provoked leave a door open for the devil to enter in. So he spoke sweet words, but in his heart, he was being mischievous. He sought to kill David. And as David was playing harp for him, he threw the javelin and trying to kill David. Read.
But he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall, and David fled and escaped that night. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him, and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain.
So Saul was not just, he wasn't just happy. Like, you know, like you make a mistake, you throw a javelin, like, damn, oh, the devil's on me. Like, why did I do that? I said I was not going to kill the dude. He wanted to step ahead, call his man, yo, listen, go to that dude's house and bring me his head. You kill him. The hatred was that strong. He could not resist it because why? The Spirit of the Lord departed from him. And he was hot and cold. One day nice, one day evil. One day nice, one day evil. One day nice, one day evil. You are plagued. That's a devil messing with you. Read.
So Michal let down David through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster, and covered it with a cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. And Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him.
So messengers came back and said, yo, the brother's sick, man. It's like, yo, bring him in the bed so that way I could kill him. That's wicked. But that's what happened when you covetous, when you jealous, or you hate your own brother. Because hatred is murder. You will eventually act out. So control those spirits, because whatsoever was written aforetime was written for our learning, right? So David was lowered and he escaped. Let's go to chapter 24.
Verse 1.
Give me verse, verse 1.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 24, verse 1. And it came to pass, when Saul was returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of the wild goats. And he came to the sheepcotes by the way, where was a cave, and Saul went in to cover his feet, and David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. And the men of David said unto him, Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand, and thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee. Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privily. And it came to pass afterward that David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Saul's skirt. And he said unto his men, The Lord forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, the Lord's anointed, to stretch forth mine hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord.
So now you see David, that's wisdom and patience. David was anointed to be king. Saul was literally delivered in his hand to chop off his head, do whatever he wants to him. And he would have been king. Because if the present king is dead, then you were the one that was anointed to be king. He would have had the power. But no, he didn't do that. Because he had wisdom to understand that God anointed Saul to be king before. If God wanted him dead, God would have just killed him. So God wanted to teach David patience and wisdom. David knew nothing about ruling the house of the Lord, to be ruler over Israel. So Most High put him through certain situations so he can gain the wisdom and the patience to, when he is king, to be a good king above the people. Because the scriptures say, in your patience possess your soul. So you have to have wisdom and patience to be able to be a ruler. And all this understanding, David went through these trials so he can grow in understanding and patience. Because that day he could have killed Saul, but he didn't. Read.
Verse 7. So David stayed his servants with these words, and suffered them not to rise against Saul. But Saul rose up out of the cave and went on his way. David also arose afterward and went out of the cave and cried after Saul, saying, My lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. And David said to Saul, Wherefore hearest thou men's words, saying, Behold, David seeketh thy hurt? Behold, this day thine eyes have seen how the Lord had delivered thee today into mine hand in the cave. And some bade me to kill thee, but mine eyes spared thee. And I said, I will not put forth mine hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father, see the skirt of thy robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe, and killed thee not. Now know thou and see that there is neither evil, and I have not sinned against thee. Yet thou huntest my soul to take me.
So David showed him the skirt of his robe, like, listen, bro, I could have killed you, but I had mercy on you. So stop hunting me. That's why David is proving to him, like, because he could easily say, yeah, I had the power to kill you. It's like, okay, prove it. I was literally not next to you. I cut your garment off of you. I could have destroyed you, from chop off your head, split you open, and feed you to the bird if I wanted you. You were sleeping. But because David had wisdom, he did not do it. Read.
The Lord judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee.
So David let him know, listen, I'm never going to touch you. I'm going to let God deal with you. Because you are the Lord's anointed. God did not put you king over Israel for no reason. So you know what? I'm going to let him deal with you. He puts you up, he'll take you down. Give me Matthew 5:44.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
So that's the wisdom we must understand. The enemy is not talking about the other nations. It's talking about your brothers and sisters in this truth. Love them that hate you, and do what?
Bless them that curse you.
Bless them that curse you. Pray for them, that the Most High can rid them of the evil spirit that plagues them. Read.
Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
So if your enemy is in need, which means talking about the people of your of your congregation or Israelite people, do good to them. If they're hungry, feed them. Pray for them. But don't put your hands on them because they are the Lord's anointed. God bring them here for a reason. David understood that.
The book of 1 Samuel chapter 26 verse 1.
Remember, David just spared Samuel's life. David just spared Saul's life. Read.
And the Ziphites came unto Saul to Gibeah, saying, Doth not David hide himself in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Jeshimon? Then Saul rose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him, to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul pitched in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Jeshimon by the way. But David abode in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness. David therefore sent out spies, and understood that Saul was come in very deed. And David arose.
Hold up. So David just spared his life, but he went after David again. Give me Sirach.
The book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 19 verse 26. There is a wicked man that hangeth down his head sadly, but inwardly he is full of deceit.
So when he was speaking to David, he's humbled himself because David could have killed him. He's like, damn, man. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. God is with you. I'm wicked. So he hangs his head low, right? But his heart is full of deceit. Read.
Verse 25. There is an...
No, 27 now.
27, excuse me. Casting down his countenance and making as if he heard not. Where he is not known, he will do thee a mischief before thou be aware.
Read.
And if for want of power he be hindered from sinning, yet when he findeth opportunity, he will do evil.
So at that time he couldn't kill David, so he humbled himself. But the moment that he had an opportunity again, he showed his head. So we gotta be very wary of people. They speak great words, but the action shows differently. Read that verse again, let it marinate. 26 to 28.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19, verse 26. There is a wicked man that hangeth down his head sadly, but inwardly he is full of deceit, casting down his countenance, and making as if he heard not. Where he is not known, he will do thee a mischief before thou be aware. And if for want of power he be hindered from sinning, yet when he findeth opportunity, he will do evil.
So that man will patiently wait. Patiently wait, look, waiting for an opportunity. And because he's patiently waiting, he's gonna jump at something that's not even relevant. That's how he shows his head again. Be mindful of people. Let's go back to Samuel.
The book of 1 Samuel chapter 26, verse 5. And David arose and came to the place where Saul had pitched. And David beheld the place where Saul lay. And Abner the son of Ner, the captain of his host. And Saul lay in the trench, and the people pitched round about him. Then answered David and said unto Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai the son of Zeruiah. You say that one?
What verse you on?
6. Zeruiah, brother to Joab, saying, Who will go down with me to Saul to the camp? And Abishai said, I will go down with thee. So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Saul lay sleeping within the trench, and his spear stuck in the ground at his bolster. But Abner and the people lay round about him. Then said Abishai to David, God hath delivered thine enemy into thine hand this day. Now therefore let me smite him, I pray thee, with the spear even to the earth at once, and I will not smite him the second time.
So David's man is ready to jump at him. I you see that in the street all the time. Let me get at him, They're like, nah, chill. Hold back. That's the Lord's anointed, don't touch him. Let him be. Let Most High deal with him. That's wisdom and patience. Because if David killed him, David is the sole ruler. It's like, nah, I ain't doing that. Read.
Verse 9. And David said to Abishai, destroy him not, for who can stretch forth his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless?
You see? So that's wisdom that Saul himself should understand. That's what Saul had the devil in him. Because he did not understand that if you touch the Lord's anointed, you will not be held guiltless. So he hunted for David, but David understood that. David refused to kill him, even he had chances to kill him. Read.
David said furthermore, as the Lord liveth, the Lord shall smite him, or his days shall come to die, or he shall descend into battle and perish.
So you see, David already knew the future. It's like either he's going to die in battle, or God is going to kill him, or he's going to live the life that he's supposed to live, but either way he's going to die. So David understood that he just had to be patient and let Most High do what he does. Read.
The Lord forbid that I should stretch forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. But I pray thee, take thou now the spear that is at his bolster, and the cruse of water, and let us go. So David took the spear and the cruse of water from Saul's bolster, and they gat them away. And no man saw it, nor knew it, neither awaked, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord was fallen upon them. Then David went over to the other side and stood on the top of an hill afar off, a great space being between them. And David cried to the people and to Abner the son of Ner, saying, Answerest thou not, Abner? Then Abner answered and said, Who art thou that criest to the king?
So David took his spear, just like he cut the hem of his skirt before. David took his spear to show him, listen, I could have killed you, but I have mercy on you. Leave me alone. Jump to verse 20.
Verse 20. Now therefore let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord, for the king of Israel is come out to seek a flea, as when one doth hunt a partridge in the mountains. Then said Saul, I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will no more do thee harm, because my soul was precious in thine eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool, and have erred exceedingly.
So, should David listen to that? Speak sweet words. You know what? Damn, that's the second time you say, no, come through, my son. I love you, man. You know what? You're my man's in them. No. I must stay far away from you. Because you have proven over and over you are wicked. And that's what Saul proved to David. By his what? Actions and his words. Because he speaks sweet words. He speaks sweet words, but war was in his heart. So David is not going to listen to him again. Read.
Verse 22. And David answered and said, Behold the king's spear, and let one of the young men come over and fetch it. The Lord render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. For the Lord delivered thee into my hand today. But I would not stretch forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. And behold, as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be much set by in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of all tribulation.
So that's who David had faith in. David had faith in the Most High God, knowing that he would deliver him from all tribulations. No matter what plan was concocted against him, no matter how Saul hunted for him, he knew that Most High was going to deliver him and prevent Saul from achieving what he wanted to achieve, which is kill David. So that's why David never touched Saul, because Saul was anointed by the Most High God to be king. And David was also anointed, but David had to go through these trials and tribulations so he can learn how to have patience and wisdom. Because they you always hear people pray for the Most High to give them wisdom, right? So how are you going to have wisdom if you never have problems? Solomon prayed for wisdom, right? Right after that, the first thing he had to do was judge a matter to exercise his wisdom, the two women with the dead baby. So when you want wisdom, you're going to have problems. And in the face of those problems, you must have patience to examine the situation to show forth wisdom. If you're not patient, you're going to rash. You're going to do dumb stuff. And you're going to show that you're a fool. Go to 1 Samuel 31.
The book of 1 Samuel chapter 31 verse 1. Now the Philistines fought against Israel. And the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines slew Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishua, Saul's sons. And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Saul unto his armor-bearer, Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through, and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword and died with him.
Read.
So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men that same day together.
So Saul ended up fulfilling exactly what David said in chapter 26, verse 10. As the Lord, and David said furthermore, as the Lord liveth, the Lord shall smite him, or his day shall come to die, or he shall descend into battle and perish. So if you keep hunting people, trying to do wickedness, even though you have time and time again to repent, God is eventually going to get rid of you. Because grace is just a period of time that is given for you to get your mind right. So if you refuse to get your mind right, eventually you're going to die. So Nabal was one, Saul was another. But these two were created to show Abigail and David patience and wisdom. So they were created to be sparring partners. So when the enemies of your people is troubling you, pray for them. Bless them like David did. Use wisdom like Abigail did, and let the Most High deal with them. But don't let that person take you out the spirit, like David would not let Saul take him out the spirit. Because if David was to kill him, God would have judged him as well. If David was to kill Nabal, God would have judged David as well. So you got to use wisdom. Give me Isaiah 30 verse 9.
Excuse me. The book of Isaiah chapter 30 verse 9. That this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
So the verse says, the Israelites, we are lying children. Rebellious as hell, children that will not hear the law of God. We don't really want to do this truth. So this is why it requires for us to be patient with our people, both in the street and in this house, in the house of the Lord. Because you came off the street, you was rebellious. You came in the truth, you're still rebellious. You're a work in progress. So we have to still be patient with you. Because this is, the house of the Lord is what? It's like a hospital. So if you're a nurse or a doctor, you got to take your time to treat your patients. If you don't, then judgment going to come your way as well. So you got to use wisdom and understanding. You got to be patient and have wisdom to know how to deal with situations. So we must learn how to be patient with one another. Because God is patient with you. You understand? Therefore you must be patient with the other person as well. Where's the scripture that says, and Christ marveled?
The book of Mark chapter 6 verse 6. And he marveled because of their unbelief.
So Christ marveled at our unbelief. Christ was the creator that in the beginning was there to create us. He knew who he created, and he marveled at our unbelief. So imagine this, if a Negro can make Christ marvel, how much more can that Negro do to you? That's what the scripture says, in your patience possess your soul. Because if you're not patient, the Negro gonna do things that's gonna have you bugged out. And you end up gonna lose the kingdom because you bugged out. And then that same wicked man is gonna laugh. Because he fulfilled his purpose, which was to take your crown away. That's why the scripture says in Revelation, don't let a man take your crown away from you. So having said all this, what should be our characteristic be towards anybody that fit that description? Go to Luke 23 to 34.
The book of Luke, chapter 23, verse 34. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots.
Read that again.
Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
So the scripture tells you to forgive them. That's what Christ did. Then who actually killed Christ? His own people, correct? His own people delivered him to be dead. And as they were doing all this stuff to him, what did he say? Read it.
Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Go to Sirach, chapter 7.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 7 and verse 16. Number not thyself among the multitude of sinners, but remember that wrath will not tarry long.
So number not yourself in the multitude of sinners, and remember wrath will not tarry long. So David didn't want to become a sinner just like Saul. He was patient, right? Because he knew that judgment was not going to tarry. Because there's a level of wickedness you're doing, you will not escape. Read.
Humble thy soul greatly, for the vengeance of the ungodly is fire and worms.
So the vengeance of the ungodly is fire and worms. So if you understand that concept very clearly, there's certain things you will stop doing. Give me the precept for fire and worm. Isaiah 66.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh.
So that's the fire and the worm. So you could live a long life, but if you're wicked in this truth, you're still going to get judged. Or while you're in this earth, if you're wicked in this truth, Most High can take you out. So be very mindful. So in the plot, give me Luke 21:19 again.
21:19 or 23?
21:19.
The book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 19. In your patience possess ye your souls.
In your patience possess your soul. No matter what's going on in your life, be patient. Most High is making this happen for a reason. Stop looking at the negative, but look for the positive in the negativity. Know why you have to go through this. Because if you go through it, well, actually let's go through that. Sirach, chapter 2. Sirach, chapter 2.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity.
So we go through these trials because there is still stuff in us that need to be fixed. So people get at you, there's something about you that you need to fix, but there's a strength that you need to get from it. You're supposed to rise above the problem. So everything is done as a trial. If you go lift weights, the heavier the weight is, the more strength you gain from it, correct? That doesn't kill me, only can make me stronger. So the stronger the demon is the more strength the Most High wants you to have, to prepare you for something else He has for you in the future. So look at it as a positive thing when demons come in your life and persecute you. Learn the lesson you need to learn and keep praying for them. Read.
Verse 6. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall.
So be patient when these things are happening. There's a reason why it's happening. Gold is put in fire, right? Go to 2 Timothy 2:20. We're coming back to Surah. Because every one of us, we are partakers of the trials and tribulations. The main reason is what? Is to prove what vessel you are made of. Read that.
The book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 20. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor.
So in a great house, this is the great house of the Lord. Unfortunately, there are different type of vessels in the house of the Lord. We have gold, we have silver, we have wood, we have earth. For many of you guys who grew up in the islands, you got them big pitchers in your house that's made of clay that you store water in. So within that same house, we have cups that's made of wood. And for those who have a little bit more money, you're going to have silver cups or a silver spoon, even gold. So there's 4 types of different materials that's in that house. Some to honor, some to dishonor. So within the congregation, there's going to be some of us that's going to make it and some of us that's not going to make it. This is why the fire is there for. Right? Give me Jeremiah 5 and 14. Jeremiah 5 and 14.
The book of Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 14. Wherefore thus saith the Lord God of hosts, because ye speak this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire, and this people wood, and it shall devour them.
So if you are made of wood, can you withstand fire? Fire devours wood. Fire devours clay, which is the dirt. So the only 2 type of vessels, those are the 2 vessels that's built up for dishonor. Trials and tribulations are going to come in their life and they cannot endure. There's always going to be somebody in the congregation there to try you. That's how it's set up. You understand? So go back to Sirach. Read verse 5 again.
The book of Ecclesiastic is Sirach chapter 2 and verse 5. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable mint in the furnace of adversity.
So if you are made of gold, the fire gonna melt you and remove all the impurities that's in you, and you're gonna be made a vessel to honor, as opposed to a vessel to dishonor. Read.
Verse 6. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall.
Wait for his mercy. That goes into what? What's the key word we keep using today? Patience. Be patient in dealing with the Lord. There's a reason why he's putting through everything that you're going through. So when you're going through things, stop looking for the negative, look for the positive, because the negative is always right in front of your eyes. But if you look for the positive, then you get the understanding, and guess what? He's going to remove that problem from you, because if you study in math, if you can't solve the problem that's in page 1, can you move to page 2? No. So there's strength. The Most High create problems to strengthen you. And once you find out exactly why he put that problem in your life, he's going to move it out the way. And you're going to have a next problem that's going to come, because he want to keep increasing you. But you must overcome the trials and tribulations that comes in your life. Read.
Ye that fear the Lord, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear the Lord, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
So that's why the scripture said whatsoever was written aforetime was written for your learning. Because you're supposed to learn patience, right? You're supposed to have wisdom. So he tells you, go back, look at the generation of old. Look at the story we just read. Nabal and Abigail, David and Saul. Those who actually, in those, Abigail became David's wife, by the way. Nabal got killed and David took him for wife. So did any ever trust in God was confounded? Abigail trusted in God. Was she confounded? David trusted in God. Was he confounded? But what happened to Nabal and Saul who did not trust in God? They were confounded. Read that verse again.
Verse 10. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
So trust in God and you're never going to be confounded. Read.
For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins and saveth in time of affliction.
So God is very long-suffering. Those are attributes we're supposed to possess. Long-suffering and patient. God is very patient with any one of us, whether we're doing right, whether we're doing wrong. He's patient, but one day his patience is going to run out. That's what happened with Saul. God's patience ran out with Saul. God's patience ran out with Nabal. Read.
Woe be to the fearful hearts and fainted hands, and the sinner that goeth two ways.
So the sinner that goes two ways. Speak peace, but war is in your heart. Woe to you. Because a double-minded man is what? Unstable in all his ways. Not some of it, all his ways. So if you're double-minded, you say you love God, but yet you dote it. God ain't gonna hear you. Read.
Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended.
Read.
Woe unto you that have lost patience.
Woe unto you that have what?
Lost patience.
If you lose patience, you're done. If you lose patience, you're done. That's what the scripture said, in your patience possess ye your soul. Don't let anyone take you out the spirit so you lose your patience. Read.
Woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? They that fear the Lord will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways.
So if you love God, you're going to keep his ways. If you love God, you're going to fear him. If you love God, you're not going to lose patience, because you know you will be defended.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Elder Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. YouTube likes to shut our channels down, as some of you have noticed, ever so often. Subscribing to join IUIC will assure you will always stay connected to our YouTube accounts. We want to do our best to make sure this truth gets out. Please click and join our subscriber YouTube channel called Join IUIC to stay linked to all of our videos. So again, please make sure you subscribe to this Join IUIC channel to get your latest updates from all our YouTube channels. Shalom.